Good morning, and welcome to the all-night show where we get down into the nitty-gritty, this itty-bitty thing we call life. Today is February the 1st, 2022. It's a beautiful morning. The pretty pink sunrise in the background. Today's February the 1st. That means the first month of 2022 is gone. Just like a fart in the wind. It's out of here. And if you're not careful, the rest of this year will be gone just as quickly. I don't think that we have the luxury of just letting time slide by us at this point in history. To talk about today may be to some considered false flagging or disinformation or fear mongering, but I think at the end we can have a few solutions. But a lot of what's going to be talked about, a lot of what you can do boils down to what we just mentioned: making use of your time, making use of what you have here today in front of you, and planning for a better future for yourself. Because if you don't, nobody else is going to do it for you. Successful people don't become successful because someone hands it to them. There's a very, very, very small percentage of the wealthy people in the world that were handed some of their wealth. But we got to stop judging success, strictly in the form of cash, currency, and look at quality of lifestyle, and look at memories made. How many regrets you have when you get to the point where your days have come to an end. If you live your life, you end your life with no regrets. I feel like you've done pretty good for yourself. That's a pretty good goal to keep in mind, is to try to accomplish this crazy little microsecond in history that you have on this beautiful planet. Try to live it out with no regrets. But what are we looking at in society today? What are we facing? What is this moment in history? What should it be called? Because it will be in history books if we, Lord willing, all the fabrics don't tear apart and we have to start over for some reason. But I feel like after about 6-7 more years of, probably about 3 to 4 years of some pretty serious turmoil in the world, and then those effects will last for another couple of years after it, and then we'll, like I say, go back to our prosperous, our good times. There won't be as much worldwide negativity going on. But what do we call this period if it's going down in history? Is it a revolution? Is it, are we fighting a war? because I feel like we probably are. But as in history, when the common man and the common woman fought for their liberty and their rights, it was a much more dictated conflict, especially from the state institution sides, because they control a lot of what is recorded throughout history. Just look at the Catholic Church's secret library. There's stuff in there that we don't want to see. If there's not, why is it locked behind a door? And only special people with special privilege get access. And it's not like you get to go browse in this library and just see what you can find. No, you have to know what you want to look for when you go into this library. But how do you know what you're going to look for when nobody knows what's in said library? But what we face now is truly new conflict. And it's been going on, what now? 2 years, a little over 2 years. And the COVID pandemic is dwindling. They've grasped at it for so long, and now even the mainstream is beginning to admit that, looks like it's starting to peter out. They also admit that, the cloth masks don't do anything, but yet we still have lots of people who put them on. I guess it's like, warm hugs makes you feel better. I mean, good for you. If that's what makes you feel better, cool. We also still are facing a lot of restrictions and mandates from the systems of control. So therefore, automatically, there's a segment of society that is not for that and has not been for it since the beginning, and has been vocal in demonstrating that we cannot be silent. We cannot allow ourselves just to sit by, because every day systems of control are putting things in place to take liberties away from us. And as you know, or should know, whenever a liberty is taken away from you, it's very, very, very unlikely that this liberty will ever be given back to you. And just because the pandemic is dwindling, virus is petering out like viruses do, does not mean that you're not going to continue to push the control on, especially the portions of society who are like, spank me harder, daddy. You're more progressive parts of the country, and I have a lot of progressive ideas. I agree with a lot of what progressives claim to be for. A lot of times I don't think they know what they're rooting for, but I don't vote, so but in those parts of society, they're still, a lot of them are still having lockdowns. You got to show a proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test to go into certain businesses and whatnot around the country, and definitely around the world. And then a lot of employers are still, even in light of Omicron, the fact that Omicron is doing a better job of building up antibodies, T-cell immunity in the world than vaccine and boosters are. They're still requiring employees to become fully vaccinated, which changes on a regular basis. I mean, how do you become fully vaccinated whenever, first it was 2 doses of Pfizer or Moderna, and they got rid of Johnson & Johnson pretty quick, but then as soon as you got that second dose, you already knew that a booster was coming. Everybody was kind of okay with that, but then now we got another booster, and so how do you become fully vaccinated if there's a continuous need to be boosted? I see posts about individuals who choose, and that's what I'm for. I'm pro-choice. If you want to be vaccinated, that's fine. If you don't want to be vaccinated, then no one should force you to be vaccinated. That's how it's always been, and that's how it's going to stay in my eyes. But I see folks who decide to take the vaccine and get the boosters, and personally know people who say that they've had very adverse side effects. And then I know a lot of people, especially in light of Omicron, who have, contracted this variant, me included, and the symptoms were very mild. Maybe, like a 48, 72 hour window where you kind of feel like crap, fatigued, a little tired, throat may get a little bit sore, stomach may be upset, may run a low-grade fever, but it's nothing that what we usually treat those types of conditions with can't easily be overcome for the average person. And I think it's time, in light of all of this, that we start talking about it with each other, and stop pretending that if we just do what we're told, that it's all going to go away and go back to whatever some people go back to normal, where, if you think about it, really think about what was going on pre-COVID, why strive to go back to that? Why not strive to be better, to do things differently? We're living in a different age. We're living in the information age, not the industrial age anymore. So maybe we should change up a few policies. Maybe we should change how we, how the country elects its representatives. Maybe it's time for a little revamp on the system. I know that the politicians aren't going to go for that because they got the gravy train figured out. But I do believe that we're in the midst of this conflict, and I believe it's the free people of the world, not just in the United States, but here in the United States in particular. It's the people who believe in those values that have been fought and people have lost and given their lives for 250, pushing 300 years now. And the right for liberty for everyone in this country has been pretty much achieved, and now they're twisting us and the systems of control, which clearly at this point has become pretty much a fascist system. Whenever you got the big tech, pharmaceutical, and federal government having a circle jerk and passing billions of dollars around from one party to the other, you suck on mine and I'll whack on yours type thing. And, it's blatantly obvious now. You can't call Facebook a private company anymore because they get subsidies from the federal government, because the federal government can't just allow free people, the nation, to express their thoughts and feelings. No, they have to be able to see what you're doing, to track you. They want the ability to know that you're performing under their ideas. You're doing what you're told, not thinking for yourself. Because if you think for yourself, that's dangerous. You might hurt yourself. You might become successful and figure out that you don't really need them anymore. You might figure out that as a human being, you have the most powerful self-learning computer in the world in between your ears, and if you put something in that joker, tell it to work on that problem, like how do I provide for my family without the need of outside resources, and not completely without the need of outside resources, but without the need to go to the store more than once a month. Is that far-fetched for a lot of us, for me included at this point in history? It's pretty far-fetched. We could probably make it work, if we only got to go once a month right now, but a lot of things would change, and my family would become quite unhappy pretty quickly. But I think that we're in for that rude awakening. I've been called crazy multiple times over the past couple of years. But, I keep up with fringe conspiracy theorists, which usually means basically I find out about things that are happening 3 to 6 months before you ever hear about it on the mainstream. And some of it may be portrayed one way or the other, and there are lots of folks in the alternative space who simply use the topic to make gains for themselves rather than to try to spread the truth and truly do the right thing. But we're in for this rude awakening. I've been telling folks since the beginning of this that there's no way that we can do what we've done around the world, shut it down. Some parts of the world are still locking their citizens down, but you can't do that and then expect to just turn it back on and things go back to normal. If you've paid attention, we had some pretty significant shortages in the beginning of the pandemic. Couldn't get no toilet paper. I've heard people couldn't get chicken and whatnot. I don't really have to worry about that. I definitely noticed that you couldn't get toilet paper for quite a while. But those shortages were pretty quickly shored up. There's a lot of stores that had overstock of all these crazy, wild paper towel brands and toilet paper brands because they ordered so many different things just to try to get something. When it finally all started arriving, then they had all this crazy stock of paper goods. But since then, over the past 2 years, there's been, if you've really paid attention, things they've dried up here. You had your lumber skyrocketed. Couldn't get lumber for, you could get it, but you didn't really want to pay for it. But that kind of, leveled out, and then plastics and microchips started. But then at the grocery store, the whole time, if you'd notice, you wouldn't have as big of a selection of crap junk food that you usually would have. There was only, like, especially in Walmart, I remember vividly, like the cereal Pop-Tart aisle. There was no variety in the small boxes of Pop-Tarts. All you could get was giant boxes of, like, strawberry and blueberry Pop-Tarts. And but it would move around, and then, several times you couldn't find a lot of your frozen vegetables and whatnot. Canned foods would go out here and there. But they've kind of figured out how to make it work and not completely run out of things here in the past 6 to 8 months. But I don't know if you've heard about it, but there's this massive truckers revolt in Canada going on. And word on the street is said truckers revolt is soon to be appearing in the United States and elsewhere. Word on the street is it's going to start on the West Coast, probably LA, and they're going to make their way all the way across the country. And I don't think a lot of people truly understand the significance of what that means and how that's going to affect their daily life. And that's another reason that the systems of control and the mainstream are terrified is you haven't heard any of them talk about it. I don't even watch it, but I ask people if they've heard about the trucker strike, and 9 out of 10 of them will say no, you don't know what's going on. And they say, oh, it's Canada. Well, it's kind of the same landmass, and a lot of the values that Canadians have, we share, and they share a lot of our values. And so if the truckers revolt comes to the United States, the word on the street is it's coming pretty quick. I don't think most people understand how fast your life is going to change and how prolonged the effects of that change are going to last, even if the strike only lasts for, let's say, they do 30 days. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 to 75% of everything that you can purchase from town, including your gas, your groceries, your pets' food, your livestock's food, all that stuff is delivered by truck. So, and a lot of truckers can't afford to go on strike. It's not like they can't get paid for it, and they gotta feed their families. But let's say that, let's be conservative and say 10% of all truckers in the United States decide that they're not going to drive their trucks for at least 30 days. We run out of toilet paper in 2 days and the trucks were still driving. Just think about what it looks like in town after 2 weeks and there hadn't been any fuel delivery to the gas stations because they don't have underground pipelines running into all your gas stations. No, you see the tractor trailers there filling up the big tanks under the parking lot. All that has to be brought in by trucks. So if we we know this is coming, and then we pretty much can read the wind. We can sniff it. We can smell it coming south. It's blowing in from the north, and I'm all for it. I think it's amazing that the coordination that they got going on and how effective it's becoming in Canada. And for the ones that doesn't know, the reason they're on strike is because the state system in Canada, has issued a mandate that any driver that crosses the border going out and then coming back in to Canada has to show proof of vaccination. And there's a lot of the drivers who are vaccinated, but there's a lot of those vaccinated drivers who are doing this truckers revolt simply because they know what it's going to do to the industry, and they know that it's not right to force someone to put something into their body. It's kind of like rape, forcing someone to put something in their body that they should have the choice not to put into their body, especially if you have natural immunity and the natural virus or unnatural Franken virus that you caught and fought off yourself. Your immune system beat it. And even the CDC admits that immunity is better than vaccinated immunity. Plus, you don't have the risk of adverse side effects from taking said vaccine. Now, if we have this revolt and they do it for 30 days, you're looking at a minimum, in my eyes, of a 3-month significant shortage of all your goods in town. So how do we prepare for this? Well, I think first off, you need to secure at least a month's worth of food and really know what that's going to look like for your family. And it doesn't have to be, the best of food, just something to keep you and your family alive. But you also want to have your health and sanitation needs. You want to have, especially women, you want to have those products that you use during certain times of the month. But you want to also get, if you have pets and livestock, you want to have extra feed for your pets and livestock. And you also probably want to go ahead, while you can get it at a decent price. I got gas yesterday for $2.71 in Laurel. You probably want to go ahead and stock up on a little bit of extra gas as well. Because once this starts, if you're able to get gas, there's no telling what you're going to pay per gallon. And then they'll have it to where you can only get so many gallons at a time. And if you was to buy gas right now, put it in 5-gallon gas cans, it'd be good for the rest of the year. And say that this truckers revolt never comes to America and you never have to worry about any of this. Well, let's say mid-August, something like that. Nothing's happened. Things are still getting better, not getting worse. We just start cycling through that gas. Put a, label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many you got. Put one of those cans of gas in your vehicle, pour it into the vehicle, and take that gas can and go fill it back up. and then next week you take number 2. You pour it in your vehicle, you take it, and you go fill it up, and so on, etc., etc. But we need to address these problems now, because what's in the air, what's coming, most likely is going to be before summer. So if you need to address these issues, you need to look at them now. And also, there's going to be, this will cause, a cascade of effects. I don't think the average, maybe they do, maybe I'm wrong, but whenever we have most of what you can go to the store and buy, most of what you go to town to acquire is delivered by a tractor trailer, and those tractor trailers, 10% of them, probably more than that are going to participate in this. Whenever they stop delivering those goods, how quickly multiple systems in our society are going to crumble to its knees. The financial system, even in some places, the grid may falter because of non-delivery of certain types of fuels and equipment. But these things are real and they're happening. The state systems, the systems of control, are going to continue to call the folks like me who are speaking out about this, who are not afraid to talk about what's on their mind and what they see out in real life, because even though majority of people are pretending like none of this is happening, that it's all peaches and cream, I think most people actually do feel that sense that something's off, something's still not right, and that it's not simply because there's a deadly virus out there. No, it's because they know that, especially my generation, the generation that truly has never seen any hard times, we have that gut feeling as humans because we evolved over thousands of years to learn to trust our senses, trust our feelings. We have that sense that something is going wrong, and that the people who were technically put in position to make things happen for the population, your politicians, your lawmakers, they have no clue how to fix any of it, other than give us more money and we'll take care of you. You got to give more of your money. You already give us on average 35-40% of your money a year, but that's not enough, and we don't have anything that we've been putting up for a rainy day. We need more money, and then we might be able to fix some of these problems. But we all have this sense, this gut feeling that things are still not going in the right direction, and that's because they're not, and they aren't gonna be for quite some time if we still have people, instead of facing their fears, instead of taking responsibility for themselves, they continue to close their eyes, put a sheet over my face, and the monsters can't see me if I hide under covers. So that's the main thing that we can do to prepare for what is coming, is to actually acknowledge that things aren't right, to actually talk about them with your friends and your family, and to get past the arguing about who's right and who's wrong. Because I don't claim to be right. I don't claim to know everything. I just claim to know that there's a lot of things going on in the world that most people see, but most people ignore. And the only way, like I talked about in my last episode, the only way that we achieve things in life is that we call them out, we make a plan to address those situations, and then we put that plan into action. And I know a lot of the things people think, well, there's no way that I can change how the federal government, runs the nation. Well, that's true. You have no control over that. That fascist circle controls most of what the federal government does. But if 8 out of 10 Americans decided that they were going to start being personally responsible for their food, for their money, for their shelter, and for providing a source for retirement once they get to an age and they can't physically or mentally go earn income for themselves anymore. If 80% of us started taking care of those things, a lot of the issues that we have would not be near the size that they are today. And that those issues, those problems only continue to aspirate. They're only continuing to get bigger and bigger with time. Whenever we've faced these problems at this point for so many years, you would think that we would figure out some way to teach the next generation how not to repeat the same mistakes that the ones that come before you repeat. And that is another thing that we can do to face this, what is coming, because it is going to be prolonged. We have to teach the next generation that what they've done to us over the past 2 years and what they're continuing to do to us is not right. It's why that we live in this country. It's why so much blood was spilled in the past to acquire the things that we've had. It's because we believe in the ability for the average man who wants something in his life, who wants to achieve something in his life, as long as he's providing for his family and following that golden rule, to not hurt people, don't take their things, and you work your butt off, you can achieve it in this country. And it's dying. That reality is coming to an end because we've been made so comfortable and so fat that we're giving all that power, all of our God-given power to do things for ourselves, we're giving it to somebody else. We're giving that responsibility to somebody else. And whenever you take that responsibility back for yourself, whenever you begin to be the driver of that vehicle for your life again, you truly have a different outlook on life. And I think that with what we have going on, now is the time for the average person to start making those changes. If you haven't started making those changes in your life, if you don't at least try to have this conversation with somebody that's important in your life, if you think this way, and you never talk about it to anybody, now is the time to talk about it to somebody. Because what that does is that allows you to truly start to begin what you believe in, truly start to know what you believe in, and it truly starts to let you know, tell yourself what your values are. And if you know your values, you can share those values with the next generation. And that's how we begin building that transformation in society. Anyways, I know that was long and drawn out and may not have made any sense to some of y'all, but I hope that some of you enjoyed it. And once again, this trucker strike has about a 75-80% chance of happening in the United States, and when it happens, there will be shortages. There may be pockets of the country, like during the first parts, that don't get hit quite as hard as the other parts, but all your major cities are going to, more than likely, there'll be anti-protests against strikes, so you'll see a lot of fires and whatnot again. But if it is coming, and when it comes, there will be a lot of turmoil in the country. But when that happens, if you have, at the very least, you have a couple weeks worth of food at your house, so that you have that. You can ration that. You can make that last a little bit longer. But you need to put that into action right now, before the stores start getting hit hard, because people will find out about this, and probably by the end of this month, the mainstream is going to have to start acknowledging that this is happening. And when that happens, people are going to start running on the stores. So take this time to shore up some of the things that you might need to get some extra of around your house. Anyways, we love y'all. Y'all take care. Remember, we are nature. Y'all share, and subscribe to support me. And like I say, we'll be back, and hopefully here in the next near future, we'll be putting out some good homesteading content. Y'all take care. Have a great day.